You thought he was done? You thought the takes were too hot to handle? You better think again. He's back with even more scorching opinions, more controversial predictions, and the kind of truth bombs that only Zain Bando can deliver. If you missed the first round, prepare yourself. This is the follow-up you've been waiting for. It's time for Zain Zinger Part 2, another certified hit from the Empty the Bench Network. Here's your host, Zain Bando.
It's just past 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. But nonetheless, we're here. We're live. We have 55 people in here watching this live stream. So thank you so much for tuning into the stream as per usual. Let's get some things out of the way before we get started. We also have something a little bit different that we're doing on today's stream as well. So stay tuned for all that. What that's going to look like, I'm going to explain in just a few minutes before we get into some pretty big bombshell topics over the next hour or so. We're actually going to go an hour today, which is something we don't usually do. We usually go about, 45 minutes to an hour. We usually go about 30 minutes or so on these, but today we're doing something a little different. I may implement this every so often. I don't exactly know. But before we get into it, though, please be sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to the Empty the Bench podcast network. To do so, you can go to youtube.com/EDP Network. And of course, if you subscribe, that brings us closer and closer to our 4,000 watch hours goal. So if you are interested in the types of content that we do on here on a weekly or sometimes every other day basis, weekly in terms of what shows you follow, but in regards to content, there's almost content every single day on here. So if you want new stuff, youtube.com/EDP Network. Once we get to 4,000 watch hours, we'll come up with some ideas and we'll do some pretty cool things. Not sure what those will be just yet, but figured I would plug that as well. All right, listen to Bando's Breakdowns wherever you get your podcast. The newest episode of the show, episode 79, is out. It came out on Friday. If you guys missed it, it's over on YouTube. It's also over on wherever you get your audio, wherever you get any of your audio centric shows and stuff. So any audio platform, it's there as well. And then, of course, for those of you who've never seen me before, my name is Zain Bando. I'm a sports journalist and an ETB Network co-host. I'm the host of my main shows, but co-host everywhere else, that is. So host/co-host, if you will. You can catch me over on Bando's Breakdowns, which is an extension of this. I also do short form video content off this show. That's called Bando's Blitz and Bando's Bonus. You'll actually be getting a Bando's bonus video from me that will release tomorrow. Just decided with scheduling that Blitz was not going to make sense for this week. And if it did, it would have already been out. But I'm going to get you guys bonus here by tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, every Friday, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific is where you can hear me, Bando's Breakdowns, on a weekly basis. We're coming up on 80 shows this week. So stay tuned for episode 80. It'll be the first episode in the month of March. Had a great guest on this past week. Shout out to Jalen Brown, the co-founder and CEO of Proverse. If you missed that interview, go and check it out. It's over on YouTube right now as part of the full episode. And then if it isn't already, it will be as a solo interview as well. So if you want that interview, go check it out. It was a very insightful interview. to learn what happens to a college football player who decided or who has to make the difficult decision that their football career is over, and what do they do in the next chapter of their life. So very exciting stuff. Very glad to talk to him. All right, let's get into the stream now. And before we get into the stream, just a final reminder, and this is very important. This is Zan Zinger Part 2. So again, for those of you who've never seen this before, an extension of Bando's breakdowns. And of course, if you are watching right now, which 58 of you are, or if you're catching this after the fact, every replay of this stream every Sunday morning is archived. So right now we're streaming to the ETB Network YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, which is Zain Bando 99. We're also on the MMA Outsiders X account, my X account, the ETB Sports X account, Bando's Breakdowns, and of course the ETB Network X account as well. So we're streaming to a bunch of different destinations. And again, shout out to all 58 people that are in here. Wouldn't be able to do any of this without your guys' support. And if you guys like it, just please be sure to give it a thumbs up. All right. Tells me that you guys are greatly appreciating the types of content I do and different things like that. So with all this out of the way, just wanted to do some housekeeping items. Let's get into the stream itself now. The big bombshell story that I didn't think I'd be talking about. This video has been circulating for a couple hours now. It's fresh news in the world of like immediacy or immediacy, if you will. So I'm gonna pull up the video right now because we're gonna watch it because it's very brief. But Jon Jones apparently is in negotiations to fight at the White House on June 14th at heavyweight and potentially against Alex Pereira. And I'm going to get to why I believe it's Alex Pereira in just a minute. But here is the video, courtesy of several sources. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the championship round version because I think that's the first place where I saw it. So let's take a look here. It's crazy. There's tons of. It looked like he wasn't going to be on this, and now maybe he will. So without further ado, let's get this pulled up. Here we go. This is Jon Jones, and there was RAF last night. So I am assuming, if I'm not mistaken, that this is from an RAF, just sort of little nugget here, because he usually goes to these RAF shows and stuff. So here it is, and we're gonna play it right now. Here we go. No, it's not RAF. It's a speaking engagement. My bad, guys. Wow. All right. So that's big news. That's huge news right there because there's been some rumblings that this Ilya Taporia Justin Gaethje fight is potentially not happening at the White House. So that's huge news. That's news we're talking about. So here's what I can think about this. So let's backtrack here. So we already know this, but Carlos Alberg is going to be fighting Yuri Prohaska for the UFC light heavyweight championship, which means that Alex Pereira has vacated his light heavyweight title. Okay, so he's now a former two-time UFC light heavyweight champion. He vacated his belt after knocking out Ankalaev last October. So that can only mean a couple things. Either is Jones Pereira happening next, like it says on the banner, or are we getting the fight, which is the inevitable here? Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall for Aspinall's heavyweight title, which would mean that Aspinall's eye would be all healed by June. I don't know if that's the case, but those are the only two realistic options that I can see off of this. Getting Jones to fight at the White House card is huge because on Friday, I think it was, there were reports that came out that McGregor would not be fighting on the White House card, and instead they would be targeting him for what would be International Fight Week in Las Vegas, apparently, which would be July 11th, according to Ariel Helwani. So huge news. I would love to see Jones Pereira. I would love to see Jones Aspinall. I would just love to see. I love to see Jones's last fight, and I think it. I think it needs to be at the White House card. I think it's the only fight that makes sense. If Ilya and Justin Gaethje is not happening, right? If Ilya and Justin Gaethje is not happening, and if McGregor is not going to sell tickets because they really can't sell tickets to this Washington D.C. event, yeah, I mean, I think this makes total logical sense. So I love it. Hopefully, we get an announcement. Dana White said on Instagram Live, even though it was very brief, that the entire White House card would be revealed as early as this week. Do I believe him? I'm not so sure, but given that it's the week before the main conference tournaments in college basketball, and there needs to be a huge, swift motion, if you will, in the sports news cycle in this dead period before the NFL draft and the NBA and NHL playoffs. This week would be the perfect time to get people buzzing for June 14th. And it's the same week of UFC 326, which we'll be talking about later this week on both Bando's breakdowns and the MMA Outsider. So I think it would be perfect to see the news break either the day of, our stream, or who the heck knows. I have a pretty free week, so if we get White House breaking news, we might have to do the stream a day earlier. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do, but all I know is when this thing breaks, when the White House card breaks and all the reveals are made, we're more than likely gonna go live. I think it's important that we do that. So speaking of UFC, we're gonna move on because we're gonna have a guest coming on here in under 15 minutes. It's a guest that you guys know well. It's a guest that you're gonna see this Wednesday as well when I do the show with them. I don't know if you guys have followed the network for years. You know who's about to come in here. Anyway, UFC Mexico City was last night. Unbelievable main card, first off. If you guys did not stay home and watch this card, it is worth going back and rewatching. There were some amazing fights on this card. So to start, we went 7-6 on the card. We had a hot start. My guy Jack Gold, he killed it last night. He went 11-2, so he's cooking. He's got 50 wins for the year now. He's doing really well. I think he's 50-14. I'm 37-27. I'm pretty sure is what it is. So he's cooking me right now. He's up about 13 fights, but gosh darn it, these fights were great. So let's start in the main event. Lone'er Kavanagh, on a couple weeks' notice, upsets former two-time UFC flyweight champion Brandon Moreno. This was awesome. This was a great fight. Lone'er Kavanagh was a beast. This guy almost knocked Moreno out in the second round. I mean, his crisp combinations were unbelievable. The clinch work against the fence was pretty boring, I might say, but gosh darn it, he really did what he needed to do to keep Moreno at distance and just use his striking ability, use his unorthodox leg kicks. I mean, the leg kicks he threw last night were just brutal, absolutely brutal. Kept Moreno off his game. Moreno couldn't get his hands together. Just not a good look for the former two-time champ that's now lost, I think, 3 out of his last 5 and 4 out of his last 6, I think is what it is. Nonetheless, though, Kavanagh gets the job done, and he even said it. He said that Brandon is a legendary name in the MMA sphere, and he's exactly right. He is. He is the embodiment of what, he's probably one of the best representatives ever of Mexican MMA. Him and Velasquez, which shout out to Velasquez for being a free man. There's nobody in the world that deserves his freedom from a combat sports standpoint right now and in a human standpoint than that guy for everything he had to go through. That's a longer conversation for a different time. But nonetheless, Kavanagh, a huge shakeup in the flyweight division, makes the loss to Charles Johnson feel like it was ancient history. Now he's going to be gunning for a huge opportunity moving forward to sort of see where he fits in that division. There's a lot of guys that make sense. He'll probably want a bit of a break. He'll probably come back in the summer. I would assume July or August and see what they can do there. But flyweight has some new movement now. With Joshua Van being the new champion, he's fighting Tatsuro Taira in the co-main event in a month and 11 days down in Miami at the Kasei Center. So flyweight's getting some new blood, and we could see a champion from Japan here rather soon. So I'm excited to see how that division plays out. All right. Finally, before we move on to the final topic, before our guest spot, we're doing unbelievable on time here with about 10 minutes to go until he joins. But I wanted to highlight a few other performances. Shout out Bobby King Green. His 53rd MMA fight gets the TKO stoppage at the end of the second round against the always game Daniel Zellhuber. That fight was awesome. What's next for Marlon Vera? I have no idea, but Marlon Vera is on a slump that needs to be studied, man. He lost the title to Sean O'Malley, and he's only won one fight since. Man, he did not look good last night. That was my worst pick of the night by far. Emmanuel Rodriguez looked really good in his UFC debut. I was very impressed with him. Where were some other stand-up performances? Reyes on the prelims, he looked really good. I mean, most of the fights were just phenomenal last night, and I know that there wasn't a ton of media attention on this because of all the unrest that's going on over in the country, but damn, the fights delivered. They were really good, and Lone'er Kavanagh is a beast, and we finished 7-6 on the card. All right, final topic before we move into our guest spot. I was at this game, Illinois versus Michigan on Friday night. State Farm Center in Champaign was buzzing with anticipation for this game. Number 3 versus number 10 in the nation. Obviously, Michigan, the number 3 team in the country, wins the outright Big Ten championship, clinches the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and sends Illinois to its 6th loss in its last 8 games. Illinois just 2-6 in their, 2-4 in its last 6 games, which is obviously not ideal as you go down the stretch here. Michigan wins the game 84-70. Morez Johnson comes back to Champaign and is vigorously booed by the Illinois faithful. Absolute scenes in Champaign. It was one of the most unbelievable atmospheres for a return game from a team that was on, for a player that was on Illinois, that I've ever seen. They were grilling Morez the whole game, and I'm just going to say this, and I was not going to go on a crazy rant about this, but I cannot stand this type of behavior. I just can't. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I don't think Morez should be the one to blame here. He made the decision that was best for him and his family. Obviously, whatever the financials were, they were. The fact of the matter is he's a very good player. He's on a much better team. And I'm just going to say that now. He's on a much better team. Illinois wishes that they had Morez Johnson. That's number 1. And number 2, when you go and get booed like that and you have a quiet 19-point performance, a double-double performance on the road against the team you used to play for, I think that's saying more than a statement. I think that's saying, yeah, you guys should have never let me find the transfer portal of day or night, if you will, and that's what you guys get. So now, obviously, Illinois with nothing to play for, with 2 games to go other than Big Ten tournament seeding. They have to start winning, though, if they want to get that triple bye and play on Friday at the United Center in Chicago in a couple weeks, as opposed to a Thursday position, which wouldn't be bad. I'd obviously still go regardless if it's Thursday or Friday, but they'd rather have a Friday path as opposed to a Thursday path. Michigan, no matter what, though, is getting a Friday path regardless, so there is that as well. Again, Michigan wins the game 84-70, silencing Illinois in the lone Big Ten Friday night tilt, which took place on Fox, and had just a great atmosphere. I've been to tons of Illinois games over the years, and I've never seen an atmosphere as good as what State Farm Center delivered on Friday night. And with that, I thought we were going to start a little bit. Oh, it actually, I had one more, but it kind of is into this. As I mentioned here just a minute ago, Alex Burr did vacate his UFC light heavyweight title in order to move up to heavyweight with the John Jones clip that I just played a couple of minutes ago. I think the seeds are being planted for this fight, assuming that Tom Aspinall remains 100, or assuming that Tom Aspinall does not get to 100% with his eye by the summer. But with that said, though, I'm really excited to be joined by my ETB Sports host and co-host, Nick Morganson. Let's bring him in right now. Nick, how are you?
Man, I'm on your turf this time. Usually we're doing everything together, but now I'm on your show. I think it's the first time I've been on this one.
Yeah, it's the first time you've been on this stream. Thanks again for joining me. This was more of an impromptu thing. I might bring you on once to begin every single month if I think this goes well to kind of introduce people that we're in a new fiscal month now. So it's good to see you here, and I'm just curious based on what I've spoken about so far, based on what you've heard from me, because I know you were messaging me off air. What do we think of this whole John Jones thing?
I don't know what to believe. You and I have discussed this topic before. We know that you and I had talked about the whole he was going to be off. What was he offered? Like $30+ million originally to fight, and then he played the game, and then Dana just said "F you, I'm moving on from this," and now all of a sudden we're talking about him being on the card again. Now,
yeah, and I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but just wanted to shout this out. Razor Sharp Pick says, shout it to everyone. What's up, fellas? What's up, chat? Well, what's up, chat? We have 73 people in here. So if you guys have any questions for the next 30 minutes, we'll do our best to answer anything you guys have. And shout out to you for the support. And hopefully you subscribe, because there's a whole lot more content coming. And the more subscribers we get, the more things we can do. And we really appreciate your comments. So thank you.
yeah, shout out. I think I know Razor Sharp Picks too. I think he's been in our chats before. But the whole John Jones thing is just, I don't know what to believe. I feel like sometimes he's the boy who cried wolf. Sometimes.
Oh, he is. I mean, Nick, he hasn't just been the boy who cried wolf. He's been doing this like for half of his career.
Because if I remember correctly, you and I have discussed this before. Wasn't it true that some of that money was coming from Turk Al-Sheikh? And
that was a major part of it.
Because that was the only way they were going to get the money that he was allocating for. Let's be real. This was not the UFC or anybody else saying, oh, we're desperate for John Jones to fight. This was literally, we're doing whatever concessions John Jones wants to fight at this point.
That's correct, yes.
But at the same time, the reports, and you can confirm it because I've been looking at a lot of stuff, it sounds like Conor might not fight on this card after all.
No, he's not going to, because they can't sell tickets. So he doesn't want to fight on a card that doesn't have a gate. Because then,
I guess but isn't that like a pay-per-view type thing though that he's talking about?
Well, now their gates are going to be based on like Paramount subs and stuff like that. And now, because they're no longer on pay-per-view, so they're going to have like different percentages and stuff.
So that doesn't benefit the fighter at all, then.
No, it doesn't.
Which, because when we heard the news that the Paramount deal had come out, the $7.7 billion deal from Paramount, that basically null and voided Conor's original deal.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Yep.
Because his deal was all based on pay-per-view points, which now, without pay-per-view points, that screws over the fighters because they're not getting guaranteed money anymore, right? So... And we heard the whole comments from Strickland talking about Walmart and all this. By the way, we are getting killed in our TikTok comments because
killed. What do you mean?
Because people are saying that we're being woke over going after his comments.
He's a horrible human being.
And I responded back to one of them nicely, and I said, "Woke. When did we ever mention the word woke?" And I said, please, I said, do not mention that we talked about politics, because we did not.
We didn't talk about politics at all. We had to talk about it to connect things, but we weren't implying one thing or the other.
All we said, because I went back to look at the clip, was that his comments were vile in every way, shape, or form. Like
from a humanity standpoint.
Correct. He was talking about Ronda and Gina Carano, like saying they can't fight because they're women, and talking about Brazilians and Mexicans and how they're horrible people. He's a sexist and a racist. Like
He
that's
is.
not politics. That's just pointing out facts of a situation.
And that's not new news either. People have known that for years.
I mean, I hate to bring this up because I don't like talking about it, but you could compare this to what you just said about politics, where people don't like Trump or whoever's running on the other side. Like, if you're allowed, we're in a country where we have freedom of speech, right?
Wait, I'm
So
sorry. What was the first part of what you said?
I was saying that I don't like bringing this up, but it has to do with like comparing it to politics in a sense where you
Oh,
could
does it
like
have to go back to? Does it also kind of go back to my video where I wasn't saying anything but facts and people went crazy?
well because you mentioned Trump being part of a topic, but it wasn't politically related.
Right.
That that's kind of like a buzzword. So like when you mention the word Trump, even if you're not talking sports, but it has to do with the topic, people automatically assume that you're talking politics, which you're not, or no one is. And that's a big problem we have. And people don't realize that sometimes his name just floats around because of the White House card that's going on currently. Because,
Right.
well, they're moving the date. They're moving the date, which, by the way, is complete farce. That date is not being moved. That was a complete lie. Whoever made that rumor
It
up.
was the Sports Business Journal who messed that up, which is even worse
And
because they
first of
usually
all,
actually no, it was Puck News. I always get them combined.
John Allrand's site. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like John, by the way. Usually he doesn't get that stuff wrong.
Well, it
Unless
wasn't
he
him. It wasn't him. It was a different writer. But I get what you mean.
but if the date was moved, Dana would have told you if it was moved. Because
Right.
it would come. He's not afraid to go live and tell you if something has changed or a fighter is out
No,
or
and if people were rational and smart, they would know that the UFC hasn't done a Friday card in over a decade. So people should kind of assume that they usually don't go off the beaten path unless they have to. I mean,
I was gonna say unless COVID rules were in effect like years ago, then it wouldn't change.
no, they didn't do. They did what they did during COVID was Wednesday, Saturday, when it was
That's what
when it
I
was
mean. Unless there was a COVID circumstance like 3, 4, 5 years ago, it wouldn't have mattered now.
right,
But
exactly.
I don't know. Like I don't know what to expect from this card because now they're saying that Gaethje Topuria is not going to be the main fight anymore either.
Potentially, and it's saying because it's due to geopolitical uh rumors, which I don't know if that's real or not.
What the hell does that even mean?
I don't know. Maybe the prime minister or the whatever you call the isn't
The
it the
leadership, the powers that be.
the powers that be in Spain probably have something to do with it because that's where he's from.
Are you
I don't
serious though? When has that ever been a problem for a
I don't
fight?
know. I don't know.
You know what I think this is? I think they're making excuses not to have the fight. I think.
You mean higher ups that aren't them, right? Meaning that aren't the fighters.
I'm talking about the UFC.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that first of all, I think this card is losing reputation day by day.
Well,
I
they haven't
think
announced the card yet.
no, but I'm saying I think what's happening is they had this huge super card that they were planning on doing,
Okay.
and I think it's losing points, reputation every single day before it
And
even gets
do
announced.
you think behind the scenes some fights are just falling out?
Yes, absolutely. I think they are. Why do you think the reports are, or what now? I don't know if I believe John Jones 100% because I don't know. Just because he says something doesn't mean it's true. But if it's true that they're talking to him about negotiating to be on this card, that means that a bunch of other fights had to have fallen out.
Oh, right. Exactly.
So if
And
Connor's
what's
on a
stranger is, as of 2 weeks ago, and you probably know this, they hadn't. I don't know if they have now, but as of 2 weeks ago, Sean O'Malley said on his podcast that they have not called him about the White House card, which I thought was really strange.
that's
That's
outrageous. Outrageous. He should be on this card. The guy. First of all, even if he doesn't win all the time, the guy like screams like entertainment. Like
100%.
and also I saw that he was yelling about I can't
Conor
remember.
Bannon getting $15 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if that's true, then every person that's above should be yelling about it.
Oh, for sure. Tons of fighters have already come out about it.
And I'm sure Dana doesn't give two shits either, right? Like, he
No.
probably just said, didn't he say I'm not the one who made the call on that?
Correct. It was Turkey Al-Sheikh who's paying him.
Wait a minute. So now Turk Al-Sheikh all of a sudden has all this power to bring people in. I thought that's Dana's job, or
No, so
or
Turkey
Hunter Str-
Al-Sheikh and Nick Khan oversee the Zuffa boxing operation.
Right, but even though it's not directly a UFC thing, it is connected to the UFC.
Oh, right, 100%, 100%.
So that's why fighters are upset. Dana's like, well, I don't understand why people are upset. Come on, man, you don't know why fighters are upset?
Yeah.
It's a pay issue. Nobody's making $15 million over at the UFC, right?
No. As far as I know, no.
At least,
as far as I know, no.
The last
No,
one to make that type of money was probably Conor.
Right, exactly.
And what's the main draw on this card? If Conor's not on it and Topuria Gaethje's not on it,
then John Jones has to be on the card.
You realize that's going to be a massive letdown to what they've been trying to promote this whole time, 100%. Right?
And could you imagine if the fight gets canceled?
Which fight?
Could you imagine, like, if Jones does this thing where he just doesn't show up?
I'm telling you right now, all the attention, the positive attention they got over the past, what would you say, 7-8 months?
Yeah.
Is going to be gone because Conor's not on it and Topuria Gaethje is probably not going to be on it. Those were three big guys that were supposed to fight on this card.
Mm-hmm.
And now it looks like they're not going to be on it. And Dana keeps hiding and hiding over not releasing the card. I know what you're saying because you're saying like the card was not finished yet. I think he's panicking behind the scenes trying to salvage the card at this point.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, every single little nook and cranny about it that I've tried to follow has gotten weirder and weirder. That's for sure.
Well, what's your main card at this? But you're saying Jones is probably that would be a massive letdown if he was the main card.
You think so?
I do, because we were supposed to have Conor. We were supposed to have Topuria Gaethje. Like,
yeah, and now you might not even have a title. Well, they were talking about having 6 or 7 title fights. Now you may only have one. Now
what are we talking about? Are we talking about Jones Pereira? Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, that's if they strip Aspinall, but if they don't, then the only title fight you'll probably have is Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes.
And no offense, those two are great fighters. I'm not taking anything away from them.
Oh, I know.
But that would be a disappointment if that was the only title fight on.
For sure.
On a White House card that was supposed to, what did you say, have 6 title fights on it?
Yeah, that was the number that was being floated around. Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true either, but apparently they were going to lose a lot of money, like to put this production on.
Correct. Allegedly they're paying for it themselves.
So not only are they not going to get the ratings they want, but they're going to lose millions of dollars on top of it.
Yeah.
And I even read, I think,
which, by the way, goes back to what Jack told me on the last episode of our show. He said, Zan, watch. It's going to be a carbon copy of the Sphere where you're going to watch it, and afterwards you're going to be super disappointed. I'm like, okay.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the UFC has a tendency sometimes, and again, I don't know it as well as you guys do, but the UFC has a tendency to go, oh my God, look at this huge card we're going to have.
They do.
And then by the time you get to the fight night or the numbered card night, depending on what week it is,
right?
And you say, "Oh, what a disappointment! You did all this build up." Dana goes on his Instagram live, which, by the way, like
they're getting more and more boring by the stream.
Oh, I mean that's a case in point. But what I was going to say is that he goes on and he promotes that he's going to do this massive Instagram live, and then he gives you nothing whatsoever.
Right.
And you're like, oh, dude, stop it. Like, you know how they say, like, on videos when you put them out on YouTube, like, you're clickbaiting because of a title from time to time because you're trying to gain views? Dana is doing a live version of clickbaiting every time he goes live.
That's very, very well said. So to kind of put a bow on this before we move on to some WNBA, do you have any, I guess, do Do you have any final words on what the heck is going to happen? Do you think like what are we thinking? What do we think?
I have no idea what to believe. If what he says is true, because again, I have no idea if he's lying or just doing it for attention.
Nick, do you think the winner of next week's Oliveira Holloway fight is going to fight on the White House card?
That's a good question. Are they gonna have enough time? Is the question.
I think Holloway will because he likes to fight pretty often. Oliveira, I'm not so sure.
Well, wait a minute. How many months do you have to clear though at minimum after a fight?
You could be on like a 2-month medical suspension. Sometimes it's 3. It depends on how the fight goes.
I'd love to see Holloway on the card if that was possible. Because
Okay.
I think Max is a great fighter.
Oh, 100%. That would give, even though it's a fake title, that would give the UFC another title fight if they needed it.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
they could do a BMF title fight.
Oliveira, I mean, he's a great fighter. Is he gonna make the card? Is he gonna juice the card up? No, he's
It
not.
depends on who he's fighting, though. If
I
he's
mean,
fighting somebody that no one really knows, then no. But if he's fighting a big name, then of course. Yeah.
I just find it funny, like a little bit, like to a segue ish of this, but like you're seeing these dumb fights now coming up on the side, where you're seeing Mayweather Pacquiao come up again now on Netflix, or what was the other one they announced? Also, I can't remember off the top of my head, but does anyone really want to see Mayweather Pacquiao again? The guys are in their late 40s.
No.
And
This
I
is
understand.
a cash grab for Netflix. That's what I think.
Well, and the two of them.
Right.
How much? I mean, I don't know if it was announced, but
No.
they gotta be what, making 10 to 20 million each.
They have to be, but it's not public yet, so I can't say.
But I'm gonna assume they're making a boatload. MVP's gonna make a boatload.
Well, no, MVP's not doing it.
I
Nick.
mean, I'm sorry.
This is a
Netflix.
this is
I meant Netflix.
this is a
Netflix.
Netflix / I don't know if Ring Magazine's doing it or who the promoter is, but
I think I heard Ring Magazine.
it's certainly
Actually,
not a MVP fight.
you're right. I'm talking about the other one with Ronda Carano. Like these fights, there's no like athletic value to them, if that makes any sense.
Right. It's
Like,
all name plaster value, basically.
and that's the unfortunate part of sports today in some regards, where they're doing things for names for people who haven't fought in 10 years or more.
And they're also trying to cater to the new fan that's kind of not lazy, but you get what I mean.
But-
They'll go on Netflix and they'll start scrolling and they'll be like, "Oh, Floyd Mayweather, I've heard of him before. Manny Pacquiao, I've heard of him before. Wait a minute, I can watch this with my Netflix subscription? Sure."
Yeah, but here's the problem, mostly for the combat world. And again, I'm not an expert. You are, Jack is, Tom is. You guys know this way better than me. But there's not enough parity in combat sports.
There used to be. In the last several years, there hasn't been, though.
Because again, I know Floyd, you know Pacquiao, I know Pacquiao. I remember when the first fight happened, how big it was. But one is 47 and one is 48. Okay?
And
It's
one
like-
hasn't fought a professional boxing match in almost 10 years, and the other came out of retirement and fought to a draw less than a year ago.
You want to talk about stupidity? Pacquiao was doing politics over the last 5-6 years.
5-6 years, yeah.
So the guy wasn't even fighting. Now I heard Pacquiao was doing some sparring stuff in the last couple of years.
He actually looked all right while he was doing it.
Mayweather doesn't need this at all. The
No.
guy is worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
No, he could. This may sound funny, but he could go in there, Nick, and literally tap dance for 24 minutes, and he'd be content with it. If he wanted to go in there and make the whole world pissed off at him, he goes in there and doesn't throw a single punch, and he walks out of there totally unscathed.
Let me just hug people.
He just hugs them.
I don't know where that joke started, but it's just funny to this day
Oh,
that
it started 15 years ago. Yeah.
because he doesn't fight, he just holds on to people
Mhm,
instead. But
mhm.
I don't know. There's not enough parity in combat.
He does like this the circling from a defensive standpoint, which is, by the way, unbelievable. His defensive mindset is unreal, but then he never like initiates. He just like does his defense thing where he dodges out of the way a bunch of times and then he
He's the
hunts.
best He's the best defensive fighter in combat history,
Correct.
but he can't do anything offensively. But I don't know. The one thing I forgot the other thing I was going to say about the White House card. They're also saying that part of it is probably going to be on CBS. They were saying
Yes,
also,
but where front office sports messed up, and this is where they could have done more research. Dana White said explicitly he told the Mac Life in December that they would only air the undercard part on
which I think is stupid in
on
my opinion.
on CBS. That story they tried to make it seem like only a portion of it. No, they tried to make it seem like they didn't know what was going to air. He explicitly said what was going to air.
And
So I
I
don't
think
know.
that's stupid. Putting the undercard on CBS and not putting any of the main card at all on CBS.
Well, hopefully that changes. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Imagine if you put the main title fight on CBS, how many eyeballs would be on that?
Oh, it'd be the most watched thing on CBS the whole year, besides probably any of the it'd probably be the biggest non-NFL and non-NFL / March Madness event that CBS would have done.
I don't know. I think just Dana has really messed this card. Now, again, some of this could be fighting related. Some of this could be some people are just not because of the pay-per-view that messed it up. I think that they didn't take that into account either. The pay-per-view change as fast as it happened. And now they have to find new ways to incentivize fighters.
I know it's extremely disappointing.
But
Speaking of disappointment, though, you want to talk about the WNBA CBA negotiations for the
yeah,
final 15 minutes or so?
yeah. So this is wild. I don't know how much of this you followed, but
I have to follow it a little bit because of what I do for Wings, how it relates to, like, if Becker says something about it, I'll do it. But besides that, that's really all I paid attention to.
so we're like 150 days into the CBA expiring.
And
Well,
March 10th,
expired.
and March 10th is the new deadline, right?
Yeah. So March
According to
10th.
Alexa Philippou, right?
Yes. So what ended up happening was the WNBA came out. I thought this was pretty dumb, by the way, but WNBA, and we should say the owners and Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA, came out and said, "Look, if you want a season to happen, the deadline is March 10th for the season not to be affected to start on time."
Essentially messed with, right?
Why?
Essentially for the season not to be messed with, right?
Correct. Correct. And the players did not handle that well, and I don't blame them. I thought that was a terrible thing by Kathy Engelbert and the owners, because basically what they're doing is they're forcing the WNBPA to take their offer, which is a terrible offer. They're not willing to budge on the percentage of gross revenue that the players receive, which right now the players I think are receiving like 10% of gross revenue. When if you look at like the NBA, in the NBA, the players are 50-50 when it comes to revenue percentage that they receive from the NBA.
Yeah, and which, by the way, I think the NBA has its own issues, not just with teams sucking, a la my team, but also just
Tanking. Yeah.
also tanking and politicking too, I think.
Well, all the
But I
issues.
will say this though, not to divert, I will say that NBC vintage broadcast they're going to do is going to be awesome, though. I think
Those are going to be good when you have Costas and Doug Collins and all those guys. I think that's a good little ad. But the NBA All-Star Weekend was a complete disaster. You and I had talked about that on ETB Sports this past week. How or a couple weeks ago, how big of a disaster All-Star Weekend went. No one wants to participate. No one wants to participate in the dunk contest. No one wants to participate in any of the events, which makes it harder. But from a W perspective, these players are the ones making the revenue for the league, not the owners. The owners don't make any revenue for the league. They pay the bills, they pay the players, and that's their job. but they're trying to claim that they're the ones that are more valuable than the players, and that's why they don't want to give them a higher revenue percentage, which is a joke.
Interesting. As someone who doesn't follow the WNBA as closely as maybe you or Callan do, I did not know that particular part of it regarding the owner's role. So that's very interesting.
But if you're not going to hedge on these numbers, where the owners are saying, well, we're not willing to give more than 15% of total revenue, the players are going to end up eventually saying we're going on strike, because there was many negotiations. There was almost a lockout quite a few times. Then the dates for it to quite a few times, they expired on the dates for a lockout. And they finally just said, look, no more dates. We can't do this anymore. We either have to keep going, or the players are going to go on strike. And I think eventually what's going to happen is that the WNBPA is going to go on strike, because right now the owners are just not hedging at all. And they keep saying, and the WNBPA keeps saying, look, we're trying to meet halfway, and the
Right.
ownership and Kathy Engelbert are not. They're just not willing to hedge. And other reports that come out saying our deal that the owners that Kathy and Engel are offering are saying, well, our deal is great. You're going to make a ton of money, blah, 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 blah. And it's not. Like, it's a ownership and commissioner friendly deal. These players deserve to be compensated. Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, Paige Beckers. I mean, and many, many, many more players. This is a star-driven, brand-driven sport.
Right. Like, imagine what's going to happen when AZ Flood goes #1. Of course, she wants to get paid. So,
which, by the way, her and Beckers could be on the same team again.
I know, which some analysts are saying that could be good, and others are saying it could be a disaster. Which
Why?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think that would be a disaster. I think that would make them better, believe it or not.
Some are saying that Lauren Betts and some of the other prospects are just better overall players than Flood is. So I don't know.
I mean, from everything I've seen,
I don't follow it that closely. I just know that they were a dynamic duo in college, and there's no way that they wouldn't put butts in seats in Dallas if they played together. So
Dallas needs the help too. They've just been abysmal.
I know, and they just hired yet another new coach. It's almost like they go through them once a year.
Even though I think they made a mistake not hiring what's her name, which I can't remember.
Oh, the coach from New York, right?
Yeah. I thought that would have been an incredible fit.
Although Jose Fernandez seems like he has a good resume, though. So
he does, but I think that would have been a better fit, considering that they really need a veteran leadership.
He just made it to the WNBA championship, right?
I think you're right. Yes.
Like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what made it surprising, right?
Yeah, that was a little bit shocking. But I don't know how you fix this problem. I mean, the players deserve to be paid. They should have a higher revenue percentage or gross revenue percentage. They've come down. They've asked for 30%. They've gone down to 27.5%, and now they went down to 26%. The owners and Kathy are still not budging on that number whatsoever. Look, both sides are never going to agree to any of this whatsoever. Cowan and I actually had David Sampson on, who was the former president of the Miami Marlins, and he great on all business fronts. He knows a lot of how the back ends of sports work. He made a comment on Dan Le Batard's show saying that if the W and WNBPA are never going to come to a deal, he could see the W folding.
Yeah.
At one point. Now, I think that's a little bit of a reach and an over-exaggeration slightly, but if they're never going to agree on a deal, look what's happening at Unrivaled right now. Now, the numbers are down slightly in the TV numbers, but that usually happens after year one, because when you see something in year one, it's the fun exploratory stage. You want to check something out. And then in the second year, you have to find a way to build that number up. But in Unrivaled, the players are being paid in ownership percentage and in more money. Like, if you're not going to compensate these players fairly, what's going to keep them in the W?
Probably nothing.
So let's put it this way. I don't think the season's going to start on time. at all. They can't even agree to be in the same place when it comes to anything. They're neither side. And actually, I would say that the PA has been a little more giving than the owners and Kathy have. And I don't know, like how would you fix this problem? Kevin and I have been back and forth on this many times. How would you fix this problem?
You got to find a happy medium, and you got to come to it quickly. It's
Okay.
simple as that. The players have already spoken up, so now the ball is in their court, meaning the powers that be, to fix it. The players have already spoken about what they want, how they want fair equity and all this stuff, and how they just feel like they want to be treated like professional athletes. Is essentially the case, right?
Yeah, so listen to this ESPN report. But the two sides are still far apart on the issue of revenue sharing, including proposing different revenue sharing systems. The WNBA has held firm in its proposals, with players being offered an average of over 70% of net revenue, which means so the difference between gross and net revenue meaning after all the expenses are being paid, that's when they would get revenue, which is kind of a joke, actually. And which would amount to less than 15% of gross revenue, which is way under the amount that they should be getting. The 2026 salary cap, which the owners have proposed, is 5.65 million, up from 1.5, and the players want like 9.15 million. Like, so we're not even in the same ballpark when it comes to agreeing to any structure whatsoever. The highest salaries right now currently are $249,000.
Yep.
Which is, can you think about some of the players who are at the top that I mentioned earlier? Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, so on and so forth. There's so many names.
Well, to be fair though, some of the names you just said, even though that salary may be on the low end from a playing standpoint, they've leveraged their brand so well that now they're doing other things to
right, but that's the problem. You're right, 100% right. But think about what you just said, which is these players are not being compensated, so they have to go way beyond what they're doing on the court to make the money that they are fairly
and I'm not supporting that. I'm more so just saying that even though like right now we're in this situation, it's not like they were not going to do those outside things anyway. The big discrepancy to me though is how NBA players don't have to worry about any of that.
That's fair. That's the point I'm getting at, which is
I'm trying to make the point that both things can be true at the same time.
Yes, right. And it also helps that the NBA has a 50-50 revenue share.
Right.
Like I said, 15% for the WNBA players when they're the ones doing all the hard work on the court so that the owners can make money. I don't. It's a problem, and I don't know how you fix it until the owners and Kathy come to the table. Kathy Engelberg keeps coming out and saying that we're going to lose millions of dollars if we raise the WNBA players' gross revenue to 30%. Oh, really, Kathy? Because I don't know if you saw the news the other day. They triggered revenue sharing the other day.
I did see that.
So, Kathy, if Kathy and the owners, if you guys aren't claiming you're not making money, how did you hit the revenue sharing model? That if that's the case, I'm saying, because if you guys are not making money, you shouldn't have triggered revenue sharing, which means you have to give the players more percentage of the money because you actually are making a profit necessary to keep it moving. But the WNBA publicly struck down the WNBA's previous proposal as unrealistic. And this is a direct quote, and causing hundreds of millions of dollars of losses for teams. A source familiar with the negotiations told ESPN from a February 17th plan would result in losses of $460 million over the lifetime of the agreement. So I don't know where they got that number from. That's just projection. But it's weird because the WNBA owners and Kathy think, oh, well, we are only going to do a deal that's fair for us, but not for the players.
Right. Exactly.
So
So
I don't see this getting better.
yeah, I think it'll only get better. I think it'll only get worse before it gets better. And I think that's a great place to wrap it, Nick. Before I let you go, so I can do all my outro stuff, anything else you'd like to add just to the value of the stream or just anything that you'd like to plug coming up? I'll let you have the final word before I go into my outro stuff and let everybody else move on with their day.
I mean, we have a bunch of stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing probably a Selection Sunday stream, hopefully to talk about the tournament. Because the tournament, I can't believe it's March. By the way, I totally just looked up at my computer and realized it was March 1st.
Yeah, today is March 1st. That is exactly right.
So we're getting ready to head into March Madness season. So a lot of our shows are going to be in March Madness mode. We'll probably do some pop-up shows for March Madness, depending on schedules. What else? Oh, we have ETB Lounge tonight. Nick DiMartino. And then we have ETB Lounge Monday with Callan. I'm trying to think what else. What else do we have coming up, really?
Well, then we have also, we don't know what day we're gonna do it, but I'm gonna do a live stream from the Big Ten tournament probably, which should be pretty exciting.
Well, thankfully you got a table area to do stuff. But you'll hopefully be live from the United Center, which will be a little bit change of pace.
Should be fun. You just reminded me I still gotta order my new my new mic so I can do that.
At least I found you one.
No, you did. So.
But and then obviously we'll have our show to look forward to this coming week as we head into the end of college football, college basketball. Sorry, I have a lot of football on my mind. But the end of college basketball season, heading into baseball season, which if you thought we had enough issues going on, it's going to be a full year of MLB, CBA talks and potential lockouts coming for Major League Baseball. And your Cubs season tickets.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that for sure.
But
always fun to go to Wrigley, and it should be a good year. So
yeah,
it should be fun.
It's going to be a good year, and enjoy it. Let's put it this way: enjoy baseball season if you're a baseball fan this year, because we're probably not going to have baseball for a year,
which is just so unfortunate. Because I think you know where I'm going with this. Because I was really looking forward to trying to go to the All-Star game in Chicago, and now it doesn't seem like it's happening. So
when is it? When is it? It's this coming season?
It's supposed to be next year during the
next
lockout.
year.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yep. So yeah. So
I guess we'll see what happens.
For sure. Well, thanks again for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, guys, in just a few minutes, we're gonna wrap up the stream. I gotta go over and tie some loose ends. Nick, thanks again for coming on, and I will see you for ETB Sports, which will air in a couple of days from now. So looking forward to that.
All right, man. I'll see you around.
Sounds good. All right. So that was Nick Morgeson, my co-host for ETB Sports. Just a few quick reminders before we get out of here. You can listen to Bando's breakdowns as well wherever you get your podcast. If you missed episode 79, would be greatly appreciated if you checked all that out. Again, super easy to access there. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not remind you guys as well that the first episode in March, can you guys believe it's March already? It's going to be March 6th. March 6th, Bando's Breakdowns, episode 80. Be sure to tune in. Myself, Zain Bando. We're going to recap UFC Mexico City. If there's any new news about the White House, we'll go over that. If there's anything else new in regards to whether the Bulls have lost 13 straight. At the time that we're doing this stream, I should be going to the Bulls-Bucks game in a couple hours. So I will let you know if the Bulls have lost 13 in a row and so much more. So be sure to tune into that as well. So for everybody here at the ETB Network, this has been Zan Zinger Part 2 on Sunday morning / afternoon, March 1st, 2026. Greatly appreciate you all for tuning in. Thanks again to Nick Morgeson for joining me, and we will see you guys next Sunday morning where we will recap UFC 326, anything that's going on in college basketball in the lead up to the Big Ten SEC, ACC, and Big 12 tournaments, and whatever else we come up with. Maybe we'll do some combine capsule recap stuff as well. But until next week, we will see you guys soon. This was a fun hour plus, and have a good rest of your weekend. Thanks, everyone.